Good morning, Year 6. Welcome to another maths lesson on time. Today we're going to be focusing on converting different units of time, whether that's hours, minutes, seconds, or even days. Please make sure, as always, you've got a piece of paper and a pencil ready to start doing the arithmetic and reasoning questions. There'll also be some input questions before it's time for you to have a go at applying your knowledge in your independent work. As always, we're going to start off with our 6 arithmetic questions for today. So please, can you pause the video and have a go at these 6 arithmetic questions? Okay, you should have finished all 6 of those questions now. We're going to start going through the answers. I'm just going to show the answers and talk through the things that you might have found tricky. So please make sure you've finished those 6 questions. All right, so for question 1, it was BIDMAS 6 times 2 first. Your answer is 16. Question 2, make sure you've lined up your decimal place value correctly to get 18.62. For question 3, don't forget there's a decimal point there. The answer is not 2,278, it's 227.8. 1 digit after the decimal in the question, therefore 1 digit after the decimal in your answer. For me, for question 4, I simply immediately recognised that this would actually be quicker to do 1/3 of, which gave me 117. You might have done it like this, where you were multiplying, but then you still would have ended up doing 351 divided by 3 because you need to convert to have a whole number as your answer. Question 5, converting and then making them into 35ths and then adding them. Question 6, make sure you first find your known fact and then you add on your extra zeros. It's not that there should be 3 zeros, there should be 3 extra zeros. So if you said it was 2,000, that's wrong, it's 20,000. Okay, for your reasoning questions today, oopsie. Just realised I've put some of the answer here by mistake when I was quickly working it out before the lesson. I am terribly sorry. Please pretend you didn't see that. For your reasoning questions today, you have got 2 different questions, practicing skills we know, but don't really practice that often. This question here, you're finding the mean. Remember, there are 2 steps to finding the mean. See if you can remember what they are. If you can't, don't worry, I'll go through it with you. And your second question, you're looking at Roman numerals. Please, can you pause the video and have a go at these 2 reasoning questions? Okay, I'm going to start going through the reasoning questions, so please make sure you've tried them at least. Remember, don't worry if you found them tricky, because I'm about to go through how you should have solved them, so that's absolutely fine. Okay, so some of you already will have seen that I started working this out by mistake and didn't rub it out. I'm sorry about that. So here are the weights of 3 different puppies. You need to find the mean. Step 1, when you're finding the mean, is to add up your values. Step 2 is to divide however many there are. In this question, we have 3 puppies, so we'll divide by 3. Now, if you forgot how to do that, you could just pause the video now and solve the question now that I've reminded you what to do. Otherwise, we'll just go through it. So the puppy called Tess was 13 kilograms, Toto was 7 kilograms, and Pepsi was 10 kilograms. We'll add that up. 10 add 7 is 20, add 10 is 30. So once I've added them all up, it's 30, and then I'm simply dividing by 3 to get my answer 10. But don't forget, I need a unit of measurement here. It's 10 kilograms. I bet lots of you just wrote 10. Please don't forget your units of measure. Okay, now for the Roman numeral questions. If you didn't know where to start, let me give you a little bit of a clue and I'll break it down into your place values. You might find that a little bit easier. Okay, C, coming from the word century, means 100. X we know is 10, so that's XX, making 20. And 1 before 5, IV, 1 before 5 is 4. Put that all together, that's 124. Well done if you got your Roman numeral question correct as well. Can I ask you now to write today's date and Walt and have a go at your do now question? This do now question is to write down these basic facts that you're going to use throughout the lesson. So I've given you a tip. Write them down somewhere as your do now underneath the date and Walt, but maybe put them in a different colour or draw a box around them or do something to make it stand out, because you're going to use these facts throughout the lesson in order to be able to complete today's work. If you're not sure on one, just make sure you correct it as we go through it, because you'll need these facts in order to access today's lesson. So if you could write the date and Walt and then do the do now questions for me. Questions 6 and 7 are a challenge for those of you who want it. Off you go. Right, remembering these should be written down now on your piece of paper so you can use them throughout the lesson to refer to. Please make sure you have completed all of these questions. If you haven't, you need to complete them as we're going through. Remember, you can do it in a different colour or draw a box around it in highlighter or something like that. Just make it stand out so you can use it later. Okay, 1 year is how many days? Now, well done if you said 365, but it's actually 365 and a quarter or 365.25 days. That's why we have a leap year. Those quarter days get added up and used once every 4 years. Okay, 1 year is 12 months. 1 day is 24 hours, 1 hour is 60 minutes, and 1 minute is 60 seconds. A decade is 10 years, and a fortnight is 14 days. All right. Now, you might be wondering why I haven't asked you how many days there are in a month. Okay. If you know why I haven't asked you how many days there are in a month, write it down at the bottom. Explain to me why I did not ask you how many days in a month. That's a little challenge for those of you who like doing a reasoning problem and explaining your thinking. Why did I not ask you how many days in a month? Just write a little sentence there to show me that you're really paying attention. All right, we're going to get started on our converting then. So when we're doing our converting, we're going to do it just like any other conversion. First, we need to be sure of our simple fact. So for all of these questions, we've got minutes and seconds. The very first thing that I'm going to do then is write out my simple fact. 1 minute is 60 seconds. Okay, 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds. Now, just like when we were doing kilograms to grams and meters to centimeters, we now need to work out what we're going to do to convert from minutes to seconds. And again, just like when we're going to meters to centimeters, if we're starting with the larger unit, which is a minute is longer than a second, to the smaller unit, the smaller one, we will need more of them. The same amount of time, if we're counting it in seconds, we need more seconds. So to get from a minute to a second, we times by 60. And equally, when we're going from seconds into minutes, we're going to this bigger unit of measurement. So we'll need less of them, we divide by 60. Okay, let's have a go at some of these questions then. If 1 minute is 60 seconds, 2 minutes will be 2 times 60, 120 seconds. So to get from minutes to seconds, I'm timesing by 60. This is going to be your first input question, so just write down on your piece of paper underneath the do now. Input question 1. If 1 minute is 60 seconds, 5 minutes must be how many seconds? Quickly solve that one now. So all you needed to do was 5 times 60. Okay, I would have started with 5 times 6, which is 30, and then add on your 0. Okay, here we're going from seconds to minutes. That means we need to divide by 60. A number of ways you could do that. You could count in 60s. So I could say 60, 120, 240, 300, 360. Or if both of your numbers end in a 0, you can cancel out that 0. And now you're just looking at how many 6s and 36. Either way, it's 6 minutes. So this question for you now, how many minutes is 480 seconds? However you want to divide by 60, whether that's counting in 60s or you want to cancel out both zeros, find out how many minutes in 480 seconds. Okay, 48 divided by 6 is equal to 8, so 8 minutes is equal to 480 seconds. Throughout this lesson, you're going to have the opportunity to practice the skills in small chunks, so please make sure you are doing the input questions because it's a really great way for you to build up that knowledge and by rehearsing all of the skills. Okay, so now we've got days and hours. So just like before, we need to remember what's our basic fact. 1 day is 24 hours. What's the bigger measurement, day or hour? Day's bigger, so to go from day to hour, the small unit, I'm going to have to make more of them. Times by 24, and if I'm going from hours to days, I would divide by 24. We always need to establish that fact before we get started. Okay, so my question, if 1 day is 24 hours, 2 days, I'm going to do 2 times 24 would be 48 hours. Now it's your go to have a practice. You can, if you need to at this point, start using short multiplication in order to solve it. But your input question number 3, 5 days is how many hours? Pause the video and solve that one. Okay, so many of you might already know my favourite method of timesing by 5 is to times it by 10 and then halve it. 24 times 10 is 240, half of that is 120. Or you could have done 24 times by 5 like this, 5 times 4 is 20, 5 times 2 is 10, that would be 120 there. Either way, you should have got 120 hours. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to go the other way from hours to days. I know hours is a shorter unit of time, so to get there's a longer unit of time, I'll have less of them, therefore I'm dividing by 24. At this point, you could either have a go at using short division, or you could count in 24s, or you could use facts that you already know. For example, I know my 12 times tables very well, and I know that 24 is double 12. So for this one, I might rely upon my 12 times tables. I know that 96 divided by 12 is equal to 8. 96 divided by 12 is equal to 8. Therefore, 96 divided by 24, I'm splitting it into bigger groups, therefore there'll be less of them, will be equal to 4. Or you could have counted in 24s, 24, 48, and then this one you'll have to think a little bit more carefully, that's 72, and then adding on another one would give us 96, or you could have tried it like that. So many different ways to find your answer. So long as you've got a method that works for you, that's all that's needed. But either way, that's 4 days. Okay, it's over to you to have a go at question 4. You're going to pause the video. For question 4, for this one, I would recommend using a known fact. But you're going from 480 hours into days. So you're dividing by 24. Pause the video and have a go. Okay, I'm going to show you how I'll talk through how I would have done this one. You could have done it loads of different ways. For me, I would have asked myself, how many 24s from 48? 2. Okay, well, this is 480. That's 10 times bigger. Therefore, it's going to be 20. Okay. However you found that answer, though, the answer was 20. Well done. All right, let's have a look at this next one then. We're now going to see what happens when you're converting with a remainder. It's exactly the same skills. You're just going to have to do a second section. So reminding yourself, 1 minute is 60 seconds. To get from minutes to seconds, I'm having to times, and to get from seconds to minutes, I will divide. Okay, I'm going to do 3 examples of this because it's a little bit more complicated, and then you're going to do number 5. Step 1 is to do your total number of minutes. 2 minutes times 60 is equal to 120, and then add on the extra seconds. 120 add 13 would give me 133. Let's have a look at the next one then. I've got 5 minutes first, so that's 5 times 60. 5 times 6 being 30, so that's 300. And then I need to do 300, add 39. 339. So we can see it's not that tricky so long as you break it up into 2 steps. 3 minutes, that's 3 groups of 60 seconds. So that's 3 times 60 would be 180. And now I'm going to add on my seconds, 180 add 39. That would give me 219 seconds. It's your turn to have a go at question 5 of your input questions now. 2 minutes and 34 seconds in seconds. Remember, your first step is to times by 60 and your second step is to add. Please pause the video and have a go at that question now. Okay, I'm going to go through the answer. Make sure you've had a go at this question by yourself. 2 minutes is 120 seconds. So now I'm just doing 120 seconds add 34, which should have given you 154 seconds. Well done if you got that one. Let's have a look at it when we're going the other way around. This time I'm looking at weeks and days. Same skills, I just need to use my different fact. How many days in 1 week? 1 week is 7 days. So to get from a week to a day, I times by 7, and from days to weeks, I would divide by 7. So here I'm dividing by 7. Okay, but for these questions, it's not going to fit exactly. So my answers will actually end up being weeks and days. I'll go through these ones to show you what I mean. Right, how many weeks is 43 days? I'm going to put my answers here, actually. I can see I've made a mistake with my presentation, so just ignore what's on this side. How many weeks in 43 days? First, I'm going to see how many times does 7 fit into 43. You could count in 7s, you could use your known facts, or you could even use the bus stop. But I would probably recommend using the bus stop so you can easily find your remainders. 43 divided by 7. It fits 0 times there, then I'm going 6, remainder 1. Okay, that tells me there's 6 weeks, and this 1 day here couldn't get sorted into weeks, therefore it would be 6 weeks and 1 day. Okay, so for the next question then, I want to know how many weeks can I make, like complete weeks, from 120 days, 23 days, sorry. I'd say how many times does 7 fit into 123? 7 into 1 is 0, 7 into 12 is 1, regrouping 5, 7 into 53 is going to be 7, 7 times 7 is 49, and I've got a remainder of 4. So that's 17 complete weeks, and left over I had 4 days. Okay, my final one, I'm doing how many 7s in 23? For this one, I know that fact immediately. 7 times 3 is 21, so it's 3 weeks. And then how many days left over from 21 to 23? 2 days. You're going to pause the video now and have a go at 103 days. It will be some weeks and some days. So please can you find how many weeks and days is 103 days? Pause the video and have a go now. So you would have needed to do 103 divided by 7. 7s into 1 is 0, 7s into 10 is 1, regroup your 3. 7s into 33 is going to be 4, with a remainder of 28, 5. So that's going to be 14 weeks with 5 days left over. Okay, so going this way, it's just as simple. You just need to divide, and your remainder is the unit of measurement that you had already. Right, we're going to look at these conversions and some word problems now before it's time for you to do your independent practice. So, Sally boils her eggs for 6 minutes. How long is that in seconds? All you're being asked to do here is go then from 6 minutes to some seconds. Okay, so all I need to remember is to get from minutes to seconds. I'm going from big to small. That means I'm timesing. How many seconds in a minute? 60. 6 times 60 will be 360 seconds. Let's look at this one then. Katie boils her egg for 480 seconds. How long is that in minutes? Okay, here I'm going from seconds to minutes. Small to big. That means I need to divide by 60. How many times does 60 fit into 480? I know already that's going to be 8 minutes. The key is to work out whether or not you're timesing or dividing. Remember, if you're going from a big measurement to a small one, you actually need to times. And if you're going from small to big, you need to divide. Okay, you might get a word problem that looks a little more complicated like this. Sanjay is training to run a 1 kilometre race. On which day did he complete the 1 kilometre race the quickest? So we've got our units of measure in different, we've got our time measurements in different units of measure. We need to make them all the same. What do you think is the best unit to turn them into? Hours, minutes, or seconds? For me, I would definitely say seconds because we don't want things all mixed up. So I need to convert this one into seconds. Also, we've already got 2 already in seconds, and this one into seconds. Okay, so 7 minutes and 13 seconds. Let's find out what that would be in just seconds. I take this and I times it by 60. 7 times 6 is 42, so 7 times 60 is 420. Now I add on those 13 seconds. That will be 433 seconds. Okay, so that one's completed. Now my next one that I'm going to do is 1/10 of an hour. 1 hour is 60 minutes. Okay, 1/10 of 60 minutes, that's 60 divided by 10. That would be 6 minutes. That doesn't help me yet though, because I need it in seconds. So I need to do 6 times 60, which is 360 seconds. So even though this had the word hour in it, actually we can now see 433 seconds, 423 seconds, 360 seconds, or 361 seconds. This was the shortest unit of measure. So just make sure you're always converting, so you've got the same unit of measure. Okay, you might also have a race like this one where you've got to use the different facts to find out your new one. I'm going to read you the problem and then I'm going to ask you to have a go at it. Those of you who are struggling, I can go through it step by step, leaving you time to complete each section by yourself. Ian, Bertie and Vlad are running a race. Ian finishes the race in 144 seconds. Bertie finishes 1 minute after him. Vlad finishes in half the time it takes Bertie. How long does it take for Vlad to run the race? Okay, Vlad finishes in half the time it takes Bertie. Well, that doesn't help me. How long did it take Bertie? Bertie finished the race 1 minute after him. So I don't even know how long it took Bertie. First, I've got to start with Ian. Ian finished the race in 144 seconds. Bertie finishes 1 minute after him. I can't really add a minute to this. I'm going to have to convert. 1 minute is 60 seconds. Now I can add them up. That would be 204 seconds. Okay, so Bertie finished in 204 seconds. Now your final step is how long did it take Vlad? Vlad finishes in half the time. Have a go. How long does it take Vlad? Write it down if you need to. Half of 204 is 102 seconds. So if you've got a question like this, you need to work out each section first before you can get to the last one. Start with Ian, then Bertie, then finally you can work out Vlad. Right, it's time for you to have a go at your independent work. There are two parts to today's work. This first section, you're simply converting units of time. There is a typo on this one here. This will be weeks and days. Okay, that's not fully weeks, it's weeks and days. So these are your first 10 questions. There are more questions after this, though. These are just simple conversions. Some of them will be quick. Some of them will have remainders and take a bit longer. Pause the video and have a go at answering those questions. Okay, and then we're going to move on to the next group of questions. These ones are mixed. Some of them are word problems, some of them are simple conversions. Here you've got half an hour. So just think to yourself, half of an hour, convert hour into minutes. Half of 60 minutes is what you're doing there. So finish these 7 questions, pause the video now and have a go at these 7 questions. Okay, and then for your next group of questions, you've got another 5 questions. Oh, sorry, that's in the wrong place for you. You've got another 5 questions. This one here and this one here are a little trickier. I've given you a clue here by underlining years for you, but have a go at these ones. Please pause the video, make sure you've answered these questions. Okay, and then your last 2 questions, these are challenge questions. You can opt to skip these questions if you want, but I hope you will give them a go. So you can pause the video now and have a go at these 2 questions. After that, I'm going to go through the answers, so please make sure you've had a go at answering as many questions as you can. These last 2 questions are optional because they are a little bit trickier. All right, I'm going to go through the answers for you now. You can see the answers are being put up on the screen. Hopefully you got your conversions correct. Do let me know if you think I've made a mistake, though. It's really important to be told if I have made a mistake. It does happen sometimes. Marking that first group of questions. For down here, you wanted to know 1 hour in seconds. First, how many minutes is that? It's 60 minutes. So then you're converting 60 minutes into seconds. So you're doing 60 times 60 again, 3,600. It was in red because you had 2 steps to do for that one. Okay, your next group of questions, they were kind of quite straightforward, so I've just put your answers up for you. 120 minutes later, that's 2 hours later, making it 7:30. Okay, for this next group of questions, the bottom ones were quite simple, but I'm going to go through these 2 for you, or with you, in case you found them tricky. So Sky, Archie and Lucas ran 10 laps of the school field. Sky took 10 minutes. Archie finished half a minute behind Sky. Lucas was a minute slower than Archie. How many seconds did each child take? First, we work out Sky, 10 minutes. 10 times 60 is 600 seconds. Okay, done. Now we need to work out Archie. Archie finishes half a minute behind Sky. What is half a minute? If you've said here your answer is 550, you've forgotten that a minute only has 60 seconds. Half a minute is 30 seconds, so that would be 570. Lucas was a minute slower than Archie. Again, 1 minute in seconds. What's that? 60 seconds. So we're taking away 60, that's 510 seconds. You might have made some mistakes here with your place value when you're looking at a harder word problem, so always remember minutes, it's 60 rather than 100. Question 9 then, Monty has a little brother and a little sister. His little sister is 18 months old. His brother is twice as old. Step 1, 18 times 2. 2 times 8 is 9. Sorry, what am I talking about? 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times 1 is 2. Add 1 is 36. If you said 36 months, though, you didn't finish answering the question because the question said how many years. How many years in a month? That's 12. So we divide by 12. That's 3 years. OK, this was the answer for that one. Hopefully you spotted that you needed to put your answer in years. OK, and then for these challenge questions, this clock is quarter of an hour slow. Quarter of an hour we know is 15 minutes. This clock is slow, which means the time should be later than it is. The minute hand should be here, making it 8:45. Stephen is growing some courgettes. He records how long it takes each courgette to read 15 centimetres long. Courgette A takes 3 weeks. Courgette B takes twice as long. 3 weeks times 2 is 6 weeks. Courgette C takes 3 days, gets there 3 days after courgette B. So that's 6 weeks plus 3 days. How many days does it take courgette C? Now we need to convert. 6 weeks times 7 days is 42 days, plus 3 days is equal to 45 days. Well done if you did all of these questions. Please don't forget to upload your work onto Seesaw so that your teacher can see what fantastic work you've done during this lesson. And I will see you all tomorrow for another maths lesson. Well done everyone who's worked super hard.